I left that page of Google Maps at home, so but I found it, so thanks for that.
As a planner, I would hope you would. As a transportation planner, you would.
Sometimes you think you know things better than you actually know.
Yeah.
I was at a park, just the wrong park.
Yeah.
But I'm an urban planner. I originally started doing transportation planning, doing all sorts of modes, doing walking, biking, roads, environmental. Working with Craig Williams over at Jacobs Engineering, who's actually here too. And Craig worked, he was the state coordinator for bike programs, is that correct?
Right.
More or less. So we're working together at Jacobs, doing a whole bunch of planning projects for bikes and pads here in the Chicago area. Eventually those kind of jobs dried up and Craig and I went our separate ways, actively. I was a CTA Bike and Ride Program Manager, trying to coordinate walking and biking to CTA bus stops and making sure that the drivers and conductors understood the policies for like bikes on buses and on trains, and to make sure that all the equipment worked properly. And then I recently joined DuPage County as Trails Coordinator and Principal Planner. So that's a little bit of my background. Is Deb Fagan here? I haven't seen her.
She was invited, but I didn't hear back from her. So.
She was downtown.
She's
so
in
it's kind of
downtown.
So Deb had been a trail coordinator for probably the pioneer of the trail coordinator for municipality of their county. So please support our efforts and advocacy. We are your voice for better biking, walking, and transit. And we want to continue to be able to do this great work that's going on throughout the region and throughout the state and the nation. And then I'm going to introduce our final speaker, who's the Executive Director of Active Transportation Alliance, Ron Burke. He has a long history in environmental activism and transportation work. Before joining us, he was at the Union of Concerned Scientists, and then many years as Associate Director of the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about the great work Active Trans is doing, and then we'll let you guys move on and go on your way. Thank you so much.
My iPod on the train coming out here tonight, and there was a story on National Public Radio specifically about this, how so the Congress just basically passed a 6-month extension of the federal transportation bill. Roughly 1.5% of those federal dollars goes to bike and pedestrian projects. 1.5%. Well, there are some members of Congress who think that's too much, and they want it to be 0%. And we just narrowly avoided that happening with this 6-month extension of the current bill, which I would argue doesn't really include enough money for biking, walking, and transit, but it's better than 0, that's for sure. But they were interviewing some members of Congress who said, look, we have all these crumbling bridges and this and that. We need that 1.5%, basically. To fix these other problems. And granted, those are real problems, but 1.5% is not going to make a huge dent. And there are other ways we can really increase the pie for all transportation funding without really sacrificing that little teeny-tiny percent that's going to biking and walking projects. So, again, if you could weigh in with Representative Holtgren, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful. So, as Dan mentioned, we've been around 25 years. We were previously called the Chicago Bicycle Federation, as I'm sure many of you know. We expanded our mission and changed our name to Active Transportation Alliance back almost 3 years ago. I've been on board for about a year, but I worked with Active Trans for a long, long time. My wife actually had Ruth's job. Pamela Brookstein is my wife. Some of you may know Pamela, who's doing some similar work right now, actually for Cook County. So she's having a good time. Anyway, doing that. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming out, really. And Dan already told you a bit about what we do. We had a little conversation earlier. We are all throughout the Chicago region. I feel like we're really lucky to have somebody like Ruth, who's full-time here in the western suburbs. We're one of the largest organizations of our kind doing biking, walking, and transit advocacy and education. Most groups don't have somebody dedicated to the western suburbs. We have another Ruth, so to speak, in the northern suburbs, and somebody doing this in the southern suburbs. And then a lot of our work through our planning And our education is in the suburbs. Dan mentioned the work we're doing in Elmhurst, and really we're in many, many different suburbs, working with schools, working with kids, education, encouragement, planning, policy work. But we're probably best known again for the advocacy that we do, trying to make sure that money comes from DC, money comes from Springfield to the Chicago region. When that money's here, we want to see as much of it as possible going into good bike, pedestrian, and transit projects, and that's a whole other battle that plays out here at the regional level. Dan alluded to this earlier. There were some really good projects that DuPage put forward that didn't get funded in this recent cycle, but some good ones that did. And so I feel like we're still on the right track there. But it's always a battle to make sure these projects get funded. Whether it's how many years did it take to get the Salt Creek Trail done? I don't know, somebody here probably knows better than I do. That was a long time. I mean, there's still some gaps in there. You hop on the road here and there, but it's awesome. It took a long time. So we're constantly fighting for you to get these projects funded, whether it's trails, on-street bike lanes, the shared lanes, the markings, better access to transit, bike racks, you name it, we're working on it. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight to hear more about us. I hope you're members. And if you're not, and you want to get that great bike turn your bike in. We have forms right over there.
Through the bird path? Okay, all right, I'll email you and then, okay, great. They just did it like a week ago. And they didn't do it where I could see it, but when I've been getting native plants in there, and so it's like I'm getting excited about what's growing and reading about this junk. Oh, wait a minute, okay, I'll email you. It's just in there, one little corner, but
Well, I went to a Green Street meeting, the power's out all the time, so they went to a combat meeting about power, and they got all the time. That's how I know it's getting closer to growth.
well, anyway, thank you. I'll be in touch. Good, thanks.
Wherever we go. Hey.
Couple mil, is that? Yeah, probably, yeah, okay. That's gonna be good. Just go over that, the railroad. Yeah. Well, we're fortunate to have bike trails and little parks, but I would love to see us. They have a little network in their city of bike trails, and then the Oak Park District ran it into along with it up Butterfield, and then it connects to Arden. And if we could run the bike down Arden, where we can connect to Where's the right of way at Arden? No, that's a good question. Probably has to be,